Most people trust banks. They walk in, deposit their money, and think it's safe. They check their balance online, marvel at tiny interest, and assume the system is working for them. But here's the thing, banks aren't built to make you rich. They're built to make the bank rich. And the ultra-wealthy? They've realized this for centuries. They've quietly developed systems to make money work for them in ways ordinary people rarely see. Today, we're going to reveal what those secrets are, and why blindly trusting your bank might be costing you more than you think. Let's start simple. Imagine your paycheck goes into a bank account. You can withdraw it, pay bills, and maybe earn a tiny fraction of interest. That's the regular path. Most people stop here. But while your money sits in a checking or savings account, banks are busy. They take your deposits, lend them to others, charge interest, collect fees, and somehow always come out on top. Meanwhile, your account grows at a painfully slow pace. You're earning 0.05% interest, and inflation is quietly eating away at your purchasing power. Now, you might think, that's just the way it works. But the rich don't play by these rules. The ultra-wealthy avoid traditional banks for storing their wealth. Instead, they use a combination of trusts, offshore accounts, private investment vehicles, and sometimes things that sound like they belong in a spy movie. And the craziest part? Most of these strategies are completely legal. Let's break it down. Trusts, for example, are like invisible containers for money and assets. They're not accounts in a bank, but legal structures that hold assets on your behalf. By placing money into a trust, the wealthy can control who benefits, defer taxes, and even shield their assets from lawsuits or government claims. It's not magic. It's strategic law and finance. Regular people rarely use them because they seem complicated or expensive, but the benefits are enormous. Then there are offshore accounts. These aren't about hiding money illegally. That's a common misconception. They're about flexibility, tax efficiency, and access to global investment opportunities. An offshore account in a stable jurisdiction can allow the wealthy to diversify their holdings, reduce risk, and legally lower tax liabilities. Think of it as opening a financial door to the entire world, rather than being confined to one country's system. Next up, investment vehicles. While most people leave their money in savings accounts, the rich use things like hedge funds, private equity, venture capital, and structured notes. These tools allow their money to grow exponentially, far beyond the slow trickle of a standard savings account. And they do it in a way that is tax efficient and largely invisible to the average person. Now, here's a critical point. None of this works if you think about it in the traditional sense. Most people think money is a static object. You put it in a bank and it just sits there. But the ultra-wealthy treat money like a machine. They plug it into systems that generate more money, continuously. It's not idle. Every dollar is a tiny worker, constantly building more wealth. And here's the kicker. These machines often rely on rules and loopholes that most people don't even know exist. You might be asking yourself, is this legal? The answer is yes. It's all legal. The wealthy simply understand the financial code better. They hire advisors, lawyers, and accountants who specialize in crafting strategies that leverage every advantage offered by the law. Ordinary people, on the other hand, rely on a single checking account and a slow-growing savings account. That gap is where wealth inequality grows every day. Let's make this concrete. Imagine two people, each with $100,000. Person A deposits it in a regular bank savings account earning 0.05% interest. After 1 year, they earn $50. Person B, the ultra-wealthy investor, places $100,000 into a combination of private equity and tax-efficient trusts. Conservatively, their return could be 10% or $10,000 in a year. That's 200 times more. Over decades, this difference compounds, creating an enormous wealth gap. But it's not just about numbers. The rich also avoid banks because of risk. Banks fail, accounts get frozen, and governments impose unexpected taxes or regulations. By diversifying into trusts, offshore accounts, and private investments, the wealthy protect themselves from the vulnerabilities that the average person faces. In other words, they don't just grow wealth, they safeguard it. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Some ultra-wealthy individuals even bypass banks entirely for daily operations. Instead of holding cash in a bank, they use specialized private institutions, money market instruments, and direct investment networks. This allows them to transact large sums efficiently without relying on traditional banking infrastructure. It's the difference between driving on a crowded city street and flying a private jet. Both get you somewhere, but one is faster, safer, and far more flexible. You might be thinking, okay, this is all fascinating, but what can I do? The truth is, you don't need millions to start thinking like the rich. The principles are universal. Control your money, understand the systems that govern it, and use legal structures to protect and grow it. For instance, basic trusts, retirement accounts, diversified investments, and even side business accounts can start mimicking the strategies of the wealthy on a smaller scale. Another secret: leverage. The rich don't just save, they borrow strategically. Using low-interest debt to invest in high-return assets is a common practice. It's risky. It's risky if done blindly, but when executed carefully, it amplifies growth. Contrast that with regular people who often avoid debt or misuse it with high-interest credit cards. The difference is understanding and strategy. And here's the most important takeaway: banks are not your friend. They're a service provider. They protect your money up to a point, they charge fees, and they lend your money to others. That's it. The rich don't rely on them to grow their wealth, they use banks strategically and sometimes not at all. By learning these methods, even modest investors can take control of their financial future. Finally, consider this: wealth is a system, not a number. The ultra-wealthy think in systems. Money is never idle, rules are always leveraged, and every transaction is intentional. For the average person, money often sits passively, reacting to inflation, fees, and external events. The difference is profound, and it explains why the rich get richer while everyone else struggles to keep up. So the next time you log into your bank account and see your balance inching upward by a few cents, remember this: there's a world beyond banks, a system where your money doesn't sleep. The ultra-wealthy already live there. And if you want to start building real wealth, it's time to stop blindly trusting the system and start learning how to make your money work like theirs. Because in the end, it's not about luck. It's about understanding the rules and knowing when to bend them in your favor.